Are you who you think you are when you gaze into the mirror? Or are you looking at a version of yourself that maybe you don't even recognize? What has been going on around here? Before we get into all of that and my tips for dealing with it, I want to introduce myself. I am Karen Astromsky, motivational speaker and wellness coach. I am here to help you change for the better by taking what you have and transforming it into what you want so you can have the life that you're looking for. You don't have to hang back anymore. You don't have to hold back anymore. It's time. Now is time to take up the space that belongs to you and show up. So if you like this kind of message and if you want to hear more of these kinds of coachings, subscribe to my channel, leave your comments below, ring the bell, and you'll hear about every video that shows up when it shows up. So let's get down to it. What is this thing, imposter syndrome, imposter phenomenon? Well, it is a psychological pattern in which people doubt their accomplishments and have a persistent, often internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. So, are you a person who has had a persistent pattern of thoughts that somebody is going to find out who you really are? Have you had a psychological fear that you can't show up as your true self? Has this ever played a part in your decision making with your career, with your dating, with your raising your hand and answering a question, speaking about your opinion at book club, volunteering to do something? I don't know, but let's go back and let's think about this. So 25 to 30% of high achievers suffer from this very thing. 25 to 30%. That's almost a third, okay? And one of the odd things about imposter syndrome, imposter phenomenon, is that the more successful you are, the more this kicks up this feeling. So we have to say, how would that be? If I'm more successful, there's more proof that I'm achieving. Why would I feel less accomplished? Why would I feel like I'm a fraud if I'm actually getting proof that I'm not? Because a lot of times imposter syndrome starts when we're very young and we get messages of perfectionism. Be perfect or there's nothing else other than perfection. And so there's a real fear that if you can't be perfect 100% of the time, you're not delivering and people are going to find out that you're a real fraud. So this comes up early in life, the seeds get planted, and then we carry them out. Psychologists, they didn't start talking about imposter syndrome until about the 1970s. It affects women more so than men. And women are more prone to take things in, internalize them, feel that responsibility. Does this sound like you? Does this sound like me? Does this sound like Maya Angelou, who's talked about it? Michelle Pfeiffer, who's talked about it? So, number one, lots of people suffer from it. Number two, let's think about the fact of how this has held you back. Let's really think about the things that you have done that you say, I could have done more. I could have said more. I should have spoken up, but I was too afraid what other people might think. Let's think about the things that maybe you haven't done because of this fear. So I'm going to share a very personal story with you. I have wanted for years to write a book. Because of my wellness coaching, I am always giving advice. People ask me a lot of the same questions over and over again, and I'm like, I got to write a book. I got to do this. I spent 7 years wanting to write the book and less than a year actually writing the book, because I spent all of those previous 7 years thinking, Well, other people talk about these same themes. Other people can deliver this better than I can. What do I have to offer that's better or different than what anybody else has to offer? And I had to work through all of that for a long time till I got to the point where I said, you know what? This may not be so totally original in all its ways. However, the way I talk about it is original. The way I use the body to deal with the mind and the heart is original. And so I had to get past my own imposter syndrome to do something that was a dream of mine. So this can happen to anybody, and it's happened to yours truly. And so what can we do about it? So this is where we come to point number 3 that I want to make with you. And this is that. It's time to get out your handy dandy journal. And I recommend you get a journal for these videos because I'm always going to be giving you fun work homework. And with an open, kind heart, let's think about the first time in your life, very first time you became self-conscious. Let's think about that time where you thought, people are looking at me. I'm getting a little embarrassed. For me, it was in kindergarten when a buckle broke on my shoe and I was humiliated and didn't want anybody to see that I was less than perfect. So maybe it's at a spelling contest and you couldn't do the spelling. Maybe it's with something else. But when was that first experience for you? And just write about it if you can remember it. And if you say, I don't know when the first one was, but this is one that really sticks out in my mind, just write down, this is where I was. This is who was there. This is what year I think it was. This is how I felt when this happened. And leave it. There's no fixing here. There's just processing. So let's say this is a big thing. Like I was talking to you, not a big thing, but as my 55-year-old self reflects, I started being self-conscious when I was in kindergarten. This has been a really long time that obviously other people's expectations of me were playing a role in my life. So you write about it, you notice it, and then you lovingly gaze at that little version of you and say, geez, what I would have liked to hear at that moment was, geez, what I really liked to have happened at that moment was, and just let it come to you. So I would have really liked to heard at that moment, everybody's belt or shoe buckles break. I would have really liked to have somebody just given me a hug and said, Karen, this is nothing. We're going to fix this. Okay. So that's how we start processing these little seeds that might have created this imposter syndrome in the first place. We can also look at our successes. I could not have been this successful in all these areas if I obviously didn't bring something to the table, which I obviously did. And use that as proof that we are that capable. We are that person. So in closing, 1, I have a mantra for you. You are always enough. You always were, you always will be, you are equal to the moment. So remembering those words, they are true, they always have been true. We just didn't know it, possibly, and maybe we didn't feel it. So you are always enough, you always will be enough, you always were enough, you are equal to the moment, and the moment, the now, is where the power is. So I encourage you to lovingly do this homework, fun work. I encourage you to buy a new journal and start doing that, because I'll give you little homeworks and fun works in a lot of these videos for coaching. Because what are we doing here? We are taking our life's experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly, and we are composting them. We are transforming them. We are turning them into something to the good. So I am here for you. Leave a message to me in the comments. Subscribe to this channel. Ring the bell. Book a call with me if you want to talk about this more. Otherwise, go on to the next video where we are going to talk more about this very thing. Thank you.